I was in college, I moved to Florida after graduation. My college roommate moved to California. So, you know, California is always like 10 years ahead of the East Coast. So I called him one day and he's like, Spike, are you homebrewing? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I'm homebrewing out here. And he was in California and he was homebrewing. So I said no, but at the time I was in transition from moving to Florida to Atlanta. And when I moved to Atlanta, we had a house with a basement. So it was perfect conditions to start homebrewing. So I started homebrewing back in '93 and, you know, that was it. Basically turned that hobby into a career. Went out to American Brewers Guild in '96 and, you know, started Terrapin after that. So.
How was your success rate early on homebrewing? How did that go?
You know, won some medals and stuff. I really didn't think of anything. I mean, I guess they were okay. I don't really remember too much. I mean, you know, it's a homebrewer.
Yeah.
But it's always fun because I mean, as you have that transition from extract to all grain, you know, and you see your progress comes along. I mean, you know, number one, you got to be clean. I mean, that's just the number one rule. I mean, anybody, you know, I can teach a monkey to brew, but if you don't have good hygiene and cleanliness practices, it's not worth even starting.
But you must have had some success, to keep you going. It must not have been discouraging right off the bat.
No. I mean, I thought personally the beers were good, and everybody in the homebrew clubs thought my beers were good. But you know, like I said, it was out of necessity. It was, you know, I didn't want to wear a suit and tie anymore. I wanted to make beers, so that's what I did. You know?
Knowing what you know now, if you could go back and speak to yourself as a learning home brewer, is there any one piece of advice you would have given yourself to sort of either speed up your path or change something you are doing or did as a home brewer?
Probably read a little bit more.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's not that you copy recipes, but I always wanted to do my own thing. So even to this day, when I'm trying a new recipe, I will go back to the books and read about the styles as they were 100 years ago or whenever the style came about and kind of take that tradition and then put my own spin on it. So, you know, I think for any home brewer, you got to pick up Charlie's book, of course, and then just a lot of reading and a lot of trial and error. And I don't really do that anymore because I don't pilot batch. I mean, basically, when I brew a batch of beer, it's 25 barrels. So when I do the side project, that's my pilot batch. I mean, that's how I do it. And for me, it's like, if I can't brew beer now on my system, why bother? I mean, unless I'm using something really, really crazy, some type of crazy ingredient that you have no idea what it's going to happen or what it's going to do in beer, then yeah, but even at that point, I'm going to take a beer that's already done and either heat it up or put it in a beer that, you know, so I don't do much pilot brewing, but, you know, a lot of it's trial and error, really.
Okay.
You know, it really is, and then when you find something that works for you, you just kind of build off that.
And that kind of leads into my final question, which is, I'm struggling now to get more creativity into my brewing. I've been doing the kits. I've gone to all grain. I've been doing, you know, recipes of clones, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know, any advice beyond what you just said as far as stepping into that creativity more and experimenting with ingredients and not wasting a bunch of ingredients at the same time?
I think a lot of really cool stuff is when you can take a batch of beer, and let's just say you're making a pale ale, all right? So what's the big hop now? Nelson Sauvin, right? That's the one that everybody's trying to get their hands on. Well, you know, brew a batch that's 100% Nelson Sauvin. Brew a batch that's 100% Columbus. Brew a batch that's 100% Centennial. So you actually know what flavors you're getting out of those beers.
Right.
Obviously, write everything down, you know, and then do the exact same beer, but try an English ale yeast. Try, you know, California common yeast. Try 1272. Try 1056. Do that, so then you know what that yeast strain lends. You know, so the key is to not change 4 or 5 different things out of your beer.
Right.
Pull one thing out or add one thing, but start with something like almost like a blank canvas. All right, so just do, I don't know, 80% pale, 10% Munich, 3% Crystal 60. You know, and then, I don't know if you want to throw some biscuit malt in, whatever it is, but just brew something nice and light so all those flavors come through.
Right.
And if you want to practice with rye, or if you want to practice with Munich or Vienna or something, make it, you know, 50-60%. Push the envelope, because then you know, okay, that's the flavor I'm getting from.
Right.
You know, so if you like that biscuit malt kind of character, add a bunch of it and say, okay, that's where I'm getting that from. So it'll take you time, and you might dump some batches, but at least you'll start to understand what your ingredients are giving to you. You know, but don't add like 30% Crystal 70, 20% Crystal, you know, do something light. You know, you maybe use 100% pale ale malt. And then you can, you know, you'll know what your hops are gaining, you know, lending to you at that point. So it's a lot of trial and error, and it's taste everything you have in its raw state. I mean, every time I mill in, I'm always munching on something, trying something, and you'll over time just kind of realize what those flavors lend to your beer.